About, dude. So what are we gonna do?
Well, it's not only the fact that we don't have an episode to talk about, it's the news that Peggy broke this week.
Uh-oh. Tell us.
No season two.
Oh man, I don't actually think too many people are gonna be that disappointed, to be honest with you.
I am. I am. I think ignore all the noise and the haters and all the crap that went with it. Like, I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed seeing stuff that we can relate to on the big screen with real stuff behind it. Like I enjoyed it, and I'm kind of sad.
I am too, because it was the cause for this show, so I'm grateful for that. It did give us something to talk about, but it's not going to stop us. So we're going to keep going. So we can tease that right there. We're going to continue to do a bunch of interviews with a bunch of the people from the show, and then some, right?
Yeah, the people we've got kind of lined out going forward, I'm excited for. It's people we've talked about. It's new people that we haven't talked about. The person we got today, who should be joining us any minute, literally just said you could join us any minute. So we timed it out perfect. Jonas, what's
Hello.
up, dude?
How we doing, guys?
Man.
I'm doing great.
like
Another
we know what
gorgeous
we're
day in
doing.
paradise here.
It is. I just got back. I was just at my cabin getting the bedclothes ready for the weekend. So
Oh,
I got a little place on the 35 right by Highway Cove. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, good area.
Yeah, it's
So,
about perfect.
so is that where the party is this weekend?
Yeah. Well, by party, I think I'm going to install a water line to the dock and power wash and put some new dock bumpers on. So yeah.
Sounds good. Water line to the dock. So just hook it up to the faucet off the house and run it down the yard, and
Yeah,
now you got water to the dock, right?
Yeah, we're gonna drill a hole in the kitchen window, feed a hose through there, and really Ozark it up. I'm excited.
I like it. That's I always call that good quality Ozark engineering.
Right. It'll have to be better than the 175-foot hose I've had running for the last 3 years on top of the rocks. So yeah,
That's
anything will be
great.
an improvement. So Jonas, you've never met Jonas. Actually, Jonas, you and I have never officially met. We've been at some functions. I've seen you. I talked in a few other episodes about you and your brother being very involved in the state associations and some of that stuff. So the viewers have seen you on the show, but you've never met my co-host, Mr. Jeff Pfitzer.
I don't think we've ever officially met. Hello, sir. I'll admit, I've only watched a couple of your podcasts here. You guys do a great job, but no, I've never had a chance to officially meet Mr. Pfitzer. So
Good to meet you, man.
Jeff
pleasure.
or Jonas, Jeff.
Glad you get to
Yes.
meet me today.
Looking forward to asking you some questions today.
I'll do the best I can to answer them for you. So
So in this, Jeff is the one that's not in real estate. So I usually ask the real estate related questions and come at everything from a real estate Switzerland point of view. I know what you guys went through. Jeff's probably going to ask you some things that are a little bit off the wall. Jeff likes to create controversy. I like to just be respectful of everybody and the things that are going on. So,
well,
but
I'll
just
be more than happy to answer your questions, and Jeff's questions. I'll do the best that I can. So
perfect. So Jonas, let's just dive right into how Lakefront Empire, how you got involved, kind of what happened, and just give us your overall kind of thoughts, and we'll just kind of go from there.
yeah. So I mean, there's a production company called Hit and Run that was in charge of proposing and putting the show together. And they had been obviously in the area, calling different realtors, interviewing different realtors for a potential show. They never could say HGTV. It was all hush hush and everything, but This I can't remember the gentleman's name, had been contacting my brother and I about, asking us if we'd consider interviewing for a show that they wanted to build for the lake area, regarding real estate and homes. And, my brother was he was more the point person in contacting about that. And Justin had honestly been kind of just slow playing it, kind of blowing it off kind of thing. And, finally the guy, just basically, I don't know if it was an email or a phone call, said, hey, either tell me to blank off or let's do this interview. And Justin and I discussed it, and I was just kind of like, man, what do we have to lose? And we had actually interviewed for a couple other shows before in the past of different types. I don't think ever to the caliber of an HGTV network, but, we've done other Zoom meetings where people are interviewing us. And, Justin and I were very adamant. We don't want to be involved in a high drama, show where they're treating like a Jersey Shore thing or something where they're trying to create like a lot of fictitious, drama and stuff. And, they were, really emphasized that's not what they wanted. They wanted an upbeat show to try and really promote the qualities and the best parts of Lake of the Ozarks. And so we did the Zoom meeting. It went well. A few weeks later, they reached out and asked us to do another one. We did another meeting, and again, it went well. And then Becca with Hit and Run Production was kind of a point person at that point, and her and a small crew came down in, I guess it's the winter now of 22, and did a sizzle reel with us. And so a house that my brother had on the market for sale, that owner agreed to allow us to do like a little test filming in that house. And a past client of mine that I had helped buy and sell property multiple times over the years, he had agreed to kind of be a test client for us to film the sizzle reel. And they took it back, kind of did a rough cut of it, and pitched it to the network, and said the network really liked what they saw and offered us a contract for the show. So that's kind of a quick explanation about how it all came together. My understanding is, again, that they had been interviewing a number of different realtors around the area. You had mentioned that, we're in, involved in the state and national meetings and stuff quite a bit. And I remember, I think it was this past winter, just before the show was officially announced, like HGTV is doing this show, we were talking to some people, other realtors up at state meetings from the lake area, and we mentioned, hey, we're doing this show, it's with this production company, and they said, oh yeah, we interviewed with them, and they didn't like what it sounded like, and they didn't believe it was at all true anyways. And then when they finally announced it, it was like, oh wow, this is legit happening. So we know they interviewed a number of realtors around the lake area, but they liked the dynamic of me and Justin. Even though legit, Justin and I don't work as a team as is played on the show. We do a lot together, but it's not like we go out all the time and show clients and look at properties together. But they liked that idea of the two of us as siblings working together, for the show.
You guys both born and raised there?
Yes. Matter of fact, I can look out my window and just about see the hospital where I was born.
No shit.
So, we were both born Lake Regional Hospital, lived here our entire lives, graduated from Camdenton High School, and I always knew I wanted to return to Lake of the Ozarks. I love the lake. It's home to me, and it's just where I always knew I wanted to be. And not that I ever had any great love of real estate, but my parents owned the real estate company, and when you finally get to that age when people start asking, hey, what are you going to do when you grow up? I was like, family business, just go into real estate, and took all the pressure off of trying to decide what kind of education to get after high school and stuff, So
you left. Where'd you go? Tell us that story.
I can't say that I left the lake. My brother, when he was adamant. He wanted to leave the lake, get away from real estate. And he pursued, he went off to college in Lindenwood and pursued a career in other things. But I got my real estate license. And think about it, I graduated high school in spring of '98, and then April of '99 is when I got my real estate license. And I had actually stayed home because in high school my social life became a little bit more important than my grades were, and I didn't exactly have the SAT scores that the schools were happy with me to go to. I wanted to go to college down in Springfield at SMS at that time, and they wouldn't accept me. So I stayed home for a year, lived with mom and dad, went to Columbia College to get some prerequisites out of the way. And while I was doing that, my father came up to me one day, took me to lunch, and he's like, "Hey, you've always said you want to get in the real estate family business. Why don't you go get your license?" At that time, he had said that they had some friends that were pushing him to start a vacation rental business, which he didn't want to do it. And me being young and dumb enough, he came to me and said, "Hey, why don't you get your license and you start that business and run it as your own through the company?" And I was like, "Hey, sounds great." Jumped at the opportunity, not knowing a thing about vacation rentals, coming from a family that barely vacation at all, and did that for 4 years and decided I didn't like it. So we got out of that, but converted it over to long-term property management. But I did that, and I did sales on a part-time basis while I was in college down at SMS. And I was literally would go down there during the week, go to school all week, and then probably 90% of the time, I came back to the lake on the weekends, to sit in the office, try to take leads, show property, and try to sell some real estate. So
Very cool. Very cool.
Mm-hmm. Good.
So I can't say that I left the lake area.
Well, for school, I guess.
But yeah, I did want to get the experience of going away to college and meeting new people and in kind of a slightly new environment and everything, it was great for me. I always cherish my time there. So
I went to Missouri State too.
Okay.
I didn't graduate though.
Hey, you had a great time there though, I bet. So
I got my master's in flunking out. So to this day, what's crazy is I have 106 credit hours and I stopped. I hated it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I should just go back and like at least get it, but at this point I'm not. So tell me about like kind of what your expectations were for the show, and then I also want to hit on one of the things we kind of joked about a little bit, and Peggy's been pretty open and had fun with it. But one of the only properties sold was your house that you purchased, correct?
Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
And so just kind of tell us a little bit about that and kind of where you're at. I'm a big fan of that neighborhood you're in. So.
Oh yeah. Okay. So first question, kind of expectations for the show. Literally, my brother and I, we went into it with no expectations. We were just, if nothing else, have a good time, just cherish the experience to do something like this that was going to end up on a major network like HGTV. And hopefully, if nothing else, get a little bit more, promotion for our family's company to try and see if we could leverage that into more business for us, for our family, and all the other agents that work out of our company. That was our, certainly we were hoping that we would get multiple seasons and, it'd be awesome to become the Property Brothers or something like that, but never had any expectation of that, because even though we jokingly say it, we literally would look at each other and be like, dude, why do they want us two random, boring Ozark guys from the lake? What is it about us? And I can, and that's where I even look at it. It's like, I get Peggy because she's got a really interesting backstory and stuff. And, Sierra's got a great backstory. And when she traveled down and lived down on the coastline and all that stuff. And, me, I'm the most boring of all the people that were cast just because other than going to college at SMS, I didn't leave the lake. And I have no, history of substance abuse or, things like those storylines. My brother, he's got all the personality in the world, and it just seemed odd that they wanted us, but it worked out great. Our only expectation or hope was that it would be done in a quality way. I jokingly tell people, it's true, the first day that we were showing up for filming, once we knew the show was moving forward, was when we were filming a scene with Justin and Cicely Wagner at their house. And I remember driving out to his house, and I kept thinking in my head, if I pull in here and I see some college kid with an iPhone on a gimbal, I'm going to just lose it, And then you get there and you see this crew, they have like anywhere from 7 to 10 people, everyone's got a job. They got these big high-dollar cameras on these harnesses that they're carrying around. They got iPads where everything that they're filming streamed directly to the director on the iPad. And I'm just like, okay, this is serious business. And Justin Wagner, such a huge success, and he's done lots of, stuff to promote his boats and everything he does. He looked at us, he's like, man, I've never seen a production like this. I mean, this is this is big. And I was like, okay, I felt really good at that point. So,
You know what I'll say to that? The show's not getting continued, and a lot of people didn't like it, which tells you the production does not matter. Because he was pointing at me because I do all of the content on our YouTube channel with this right here. Here's what I've learned. And any videographer will tell you, it's not the quality of the camera, it's the quality of the content. And I thought the content was actually pretty good. You guys were awesome. It was the fact that they didn't, and we've talked about this a lot, they didn't finish the storylines. They didn't give us a conclusion. And I think probably a product of, because a lot of it was potentially staged. People weren't really that interested in buying. There was no inventory.
And I can't speak for Peggy and Gerardo, Amanda, Sierra, because so much of that stuff they filmed without us even involved. And that's where I was really hoping to get at least one more season, because after going through the first one, you get that experience, you realize what they're looking for. It's like, okay, now we can do a better job of feeding them the type of clients they need. And think about it. I mean, that's a part of the reason why they like to back produce, people that have bought within the last 6 months to a year. It's still fresh enough that they did legit buy. You can film them looking at the house that they did buy and go find one or two other homes out there that are currently available and film those. And it still is reality because they did buy that home within a relative period of time. And it gives you that nice conclusion of say, hey, they actually did, sell them something. And a lot of what we were, filming were people that we were working with, in real time. And I mean, Ramsey, you can speak to this. We just went through a period last year where the inventory was so low and it was so competitive. And if you're trying to film a show like that real time with people actually looking, it could be really challenging to find something, show it to them, and sell it. I've got clients I've worked with for years, until the right house comes along, that it's tough to get that. So if we'd been able to get a second season, having gone through that experience now, I think we could have done a better job of going back and, okay, let's feed these people to them and hopefully get them approved by the network to be filmed for the show, and can give it an actual conclusion of that we were able to sell them something. So
right. Well, and I think that kind of alludes to what Jeff's talking about, of also like the finale or the finish of what happened, because I'm watching Facebook and I'm watching the reaction of the public and what they're saying about the show and like all these things, and I want to ask you about that specifically later, but like the general public doesn't understand the timelines that these transactions go through, or like you said, they don't. And we talked about specifically, one of my favorite houses was on the first episode that you showed, the Wagners. I love Sellers Road. I think those, like, I call it Florida in the Midwest. They got those wide canal, low roofs, big view, flat yard. But I remember when Sean listed that house and being like, find a buyer for it, because like that's what people are looking for specifically, and how the market was changing. People wanted that suburban home on Lake of the Ozarks, and so seeing it listed at $499, going, it ain't gonna, it's going above, and then people reacting to the Wagners wanting to offer $480, I think is what they wanted to offer per the show. And and then you see people like, well, he's pushing them to do that. And it's like, no, these are legit real life scenarios that it's not about being pushy. It's about being honest, saying, you want this property, you got to go for it,
And a good story about that one is, that all happened real time. Is we had two other properties that we were filming the Wagners on. One was my listing up in Stover that made the show. Another was another listing another agent had that did not make it into the show. But in the middle of all that listing pops up. And my brother, who Justin and Wagner and my brother Justin, they're the actual clients. And Justin saw that, and he calls Sven, the director, and the producers, and say, hey, this is a house that we need to get on the show. This is exactly what the Wagners are looking for. And so Justin, again, my brother Justin, contacted Sean, the listing agent. It was like, dude, can you get me into this thing? But I need like 4 hours. He's like, I need like a half a day. And of course, Sean's got a laundry list of people wanting to show it. You know, remember like the pandemic, you know, agents stumbling over each other to get in there to show it. You knew it was going to go with multiple offers, but thank you to Sean for actually working out. We blocked out like a 4-hour window for us to get in there and film that particular episode without having any other, you know, agents, you know, in there with us or anything. So.
Right.
I mean, and Wagner missed. That was the offer he wanted to make, you know, and he's a very successful person. And like I swear, I tell people a lot of times, a big part of what we're selling here is I want, not I need, you know. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you get these, you know, successful people that come in, they got money to spend, but they know they want to bargain the best deal they can. And some of them are like, I'm not paying retail price for something because they're always worried about the out or get the best deal they can. And yeah, that's, you know, where he wanted to be. He wanted to make that offer. And it was still, Justin, my brother and I were looking at it like, oh, great, okay. Is that going to come together? You know, because you got offers out there at full price, above full price anyways, but you have to represent your client. You work for them. They tell you this is the offer you want to make. Okay, we'll make the offer. So.
Yeah, because that one ended up like $525 or $530 cash.
Yeah. It went like 25 or 30 grand over list price. And you know, my brother and I, and I'm sure you agree, probably Sean, you know, intentionally underpriced that thing just below that 500,000 benchmark to get maximum eyes on it to drive the activity and drive that cost up. So, because he probably could have justified going even to 550, but maybe at 550 it sits on the market for a couple weeks or something, and you know, who knows where it ends up at. So.
Right. And I can imagine like in that scenario too, because you guys had like waivers and stuff you had to have signed to be able to get in property. So like perfect house comes on the market. How do we get somebody in logistically and on the back end side of, you know, signing off sellers, all that? Because we talked to Peggy and I talked to some of the Swift teams, and like they had to hide in a garage during one house that was filming to satisfy all the waivers and the different things going on. So
yeah, the owners have to sign waivers and releases to allow their home to be in the show. And you know, think about it as well, the crew, they're so conscious about what's going to end up, like even what's on the walls. So they would literally go into every home, photograph or video the entire house, and then they'd go through and start taking pictures down and, you know, decor, anything that could be branded or whatnot, and stuff it away in a closet. And, you know, and I never paid attention to it, but now when you start watching some of these HGTV shows, you'll see pictures are blurred out or really bare walls. They're doing that to protect themselves, you know, and then once it's all done, then they have to go back and put all that stuff back. And it's a big process. So yeah, in order to get us into that house on such short notice, get all the waivers signed and everything completed, it was a real process. So,
Jeff, what do you got?
I want to know. Okay, so who's older?
I am.
By how many years?
2 years and 3 months.
So you're clearly the better looking and the wiser of the two, but
that's obvious. Absolutely.
Who would win in a fight?
Well, I will. Dirty. I think it would be, Justin's got that dirty fight in him. You know, he's definitely more fit than I am. You know, he pays a lot closer attention to what he puts in his body. He runs and works out all the time. I do the best I can, but at the same time, I can intimidate him like crazy. You know, I still got that old brother sibling, you know, leverage that I think. I weigh him by about probably 30 pounds, so I think I could put him down pretty quick. So, but it'd have to be quick, because if it turned into a long fight, I'd get winded really fast with all the cigars I smoke and, you know, whatnot. So it'd have to happen real quick. So.
Oh, that gives me another question. Okay, so you and I, we Facebook friended each other, I don't know, 2 months ago-ish, right around the time. But are your Facebook posts a little bit of a troll of the people? Because it feels like that sitting on my grill smoking a cigar, and that was mentioned in the episode. So is there any little bit of something there to people? Really?
No,
so
no. I mean, honestly, if you go back through the history of my Instagram and my Facebook posts, yes. You'll find, you know, I've actually fallen off on posting, you know, pictures of when we're grilling and hanging out on the back deck, smoking cigars, drinking our drinks and stuff. that's, my wife and I, we don't go out a whole lot on the weekends to eat or anything. I love just kicking back on the back deck, grilling dinner, smoking cigars, drinking our whatever, or usually wine on the weekends. And, it has led to quite a few steaks cooked more than they should be. And I've tried to get better at that, waiting. It's like, oh, let's just cook now and then smoke later. But yeah, no, that's just something I love to do on the weekends is cook grill dinner on the deck and take pictures of it and put it out there. Because, if you got the Instagram, you've got to put a picture of your food that you're eating out there on it, right? It's kind of like the big thing to do. So no troll move there. It is legit what we like to do on the weekends. So
is that normal? Because as I'm getting to know more and more people, and so I'm based out of St. Louis, have been a weekend warrior, but doing more and more at the lake, intend to move down there full time in a few years once our blended families, kids are grown, right? But what I'm hearing, and I think about it for myself, because as I'm the majority, right? The majority of the people that go to the lake are the people that are the weekend warriors, right? That's who's got the all of the lake homes primarily. Locals, I feel like, and I've gotten to know Annie and Jesse Fallstitch, right? And I asked them recently, I'm like, you guys go out on the lake much? They're like, no. And I'm like, it's interesting. Like, and the more people that I get to know that live there full time, they're like, no, not really. And I'm like, why? Like, what is it about that? So are you the same way? I mean, you guys don't do a lot on the weekends. I'm sure you probably have a different take on Memorial Day to Labor Day and the busyness of it. So tell us like what it is from somebody who's literally been there his entire life.
Well, I mean, you'll find that a lot of people live at the lake. The lake is the big draw, but a lot of it as well is just the atmosphere. So, more relaxed atmosphere. I mean, and I don't like the idea that we don't work as hard or as fast as other people in the city, but at the same time, I do believe, that the quote rat race isn't as hardcore at the lake as it is maybe in more developed areas like St. Louis, Kansas City, and whatnot. But, the lake, the weekends, especially in the summertime, it is very, very busy. And, most of your locals will probably say, hey, Friday, Saturday, let the weekend warriors, let the tourists, let them have it. That's what they're here for. Guess what? The best time to go boating, Tuesday afternoon. If you live at the lake, you have a house on the water, you put in your day at work, maybe cut out a few minutes early, run home, drop the boat in the lake, go boating, and go pull into any one of those wonderful restaurants we have and enjoy it. And the lake's calm. There's not much going on. Yeah, there's not going to be a lot of that crazy entertainment because they save that for the weekends, but it's much more relaxing. Or, my brother's got his boat. I used to have a boat, hoping to get another one here soon. We always talk like Sunday afternoon, noon, 1 o'clock, drop the boat in the lake. And about, get out there, do some boating, go coving somewhere. Probably mid-afternoon, the lake is very nice and calm and easy. And sorry about that, my phone just went off. So, it's more relaxing, So there's two aspects, let the locals like to enjoy it during the week or on Sunday afternoons, and the weekend warriors and the second homeowners, when they come the weekends of their time, let them have it, and we appreciate them being here because that's what makes the lake great, bringing all that money into the lake area and everything. Yeah. So
there's nothing better than a Thursday or a Monday happy hour at the lake.
Absolutely.
Like Thursday and Monday happy hours are like that sun's kind of going down. We go to the cave or the fish. That's kind of where we do. I'm also partial to the fireworks at Bear Bottom on Saturday nights all summer long. We like that a lot too. But that 3 to 4 o'clock on Thursday, it's hot still. You get on your boat, but there's no one out there. Wide open throttle. You can enjoy it. I've got a shrimping boat that doesn't handle the lake that great, but it gets me where I need to go. And you're right there. You're in one of the best coves now with Lynn Creek Cove.
Oh yeah.
Right there. It's long. It's calmer. You've got the fish right there. You've got that big. You got the fish cove that has become like a family party cove is what I tell people all the time. Like you can go any age, your whole family, 100, 200 boats tied up or anchored out in that cove. So, I want to ask you one question. Last question I personally have is, you're giving us your opinion on the show, what you went through. I'm curious to know, and Jeff deals with this too as we became more social and more video content out there. What was your wife's thoughts on being on the show? How has she kind of handled it?
So my wife is she's much more reserved. She was not real excited about the idea of being on the show, but at the same time, she was like, if it helps the show out, great, she'll do it. We were not originally supposed to be on the show in the aspect of us purchasing our home, but I have clients that I've been working with for a while now that they were going to be on that particular episode. Great, become very good friends of mine. And we're showing them homes up to, I've been showing them homes up to $3 or $4 million. And they were going to be on the show, but just, I think, a couple days before we were going to start filming, her mother passed away. And it really, was very devastating, obviously. And she just couldn't go through with filming at that time. So the network's like, man, what do we do? We got it, whatever. And I had pitched it to them before because we just bought our house in August of last year. And I was like, well, I mean, you can film us buying ours. It's not a lake house, but, me and my brother, and I'm sure Sierra and Peggy had been emphasizing wanting to make sure that, a show like this, obviously most people are tuning in to see the luxury homes, the big multi-million-dollar homes. But that's not just all Lake of the Ozarks is. We've got beautiful condos, villas, second-tier, lake access homes. And we were hoping that they would work a few of those into it, which they obviously did. And, our thought process was, well, we bought this house and it's a lake access home with a boat slip. Why don't you just film us? And, I guess because it was short notice and they had some space to fill, they went ahead and went with it. So.
Well, that's cool. I'm glad she embraced it and had some fun with it. So.
Yeah. I mean, she enjoyed it. I mean, she was real nervous at first. Like I said, she's fairly, much more reserved, but again, for her it was whatever's good for the show if it helps us out. And she was a real trooper with it. So,
I think I know a question Jeff's going to ask you here.
Well, then why don't you just ask it if you know what I'm going to say?
No, because it's your turn. It's your turn.
Well, let's see if this was it. I've got a bunch of questions actually, because I'm just more curious about the general things than I am tied to real estate, but not in real estate yet. But have been in the mortgage business for 25 years. Have a background. Let's set that aside. Let's get back to the personal stuff. So I want to know if you are going to take your wife out to a special date. What is the restaurant you choose? Only one. And if you're going out with your buddies and you're going to go hang out, watch a game, just put back some drinks, smoke a cigar, where are you going for that one? So two different questions there.
Okay. So the restaurant where I would take my wife for a special date, more likely it would be 1932 The Reserve. We really love the atmosphere there. We usually make it our anniversary / her birthday place to go for dinner. So that would be our top choice, and there's a couple other good ones. And going out with the buddies to watch the game and smoke a cigar, well, considering most restaurants don't let you smoke anymore, I probably couldn't do that anyways.
Okay, we'll throw the cigar out then.
Okay. Just going out with the buddies to hang out, probably dog days. Probably go to dog days or Shorty Pants Lounge or something like that to kick back, have some good food, some good drinks, and be able to do some fun people watching. See some of the characters as they come out in full force. So.
What about off water?
Off water, love going to Willow's down off of Y Road. It's a great restaurant, good food down there. Nice, casual, laid back place to go. Man, you're throwing me on the spot here. It depends on the style of food that we want to eat. But if I'm taking the boys out to just kick back and relax, Papa's would be a great place to go. Mm-hmm. Get to have some good craft beers and wonderful pizza. So I'd probably say either Willow's or Papa's would be the place to go.
Is that what I was going to ask, Ramsey?
Well, it started out. I'm waiting for you to ask something about swingers and nudists and resorts, and you kind of I thought you were kind of leading into would you take your wife? I thought that's where you were going with that, so I was like, yeah, but no, Jeff jokingly during that episode with that gentleman, like he made sure he perked up a little bit. It was kind of watching it live with him. He was pretty, but no, tell us what happened with that deal. Because I kind of went back and looked and noticed the show appeared that he was buying that piece of property. Like you felt pretty good, but that didn't happen, right?
No, he didn't buy that property. They filmed it both ways with him, buying or not buying. And that was another one of those real time, showings because, it's not like we had shown it to him before. We found that property and it all made sense for what he wanted to do. I mean, it was a former nudist colony, and for what he wanted to do with his swingers, club and everything, made perfect sense. But we were literally showing him and filming that all at the same time. So, and I remember, after we, filmed so much of it, right at the end, and we're standing around, and they were like, "Okay, let's film this, and let's bring him together with the owner, and let's put this deal together." And my brother and I looked at each other, like, "No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to just go talk to the owner and try to put a deal together right now. There's a lot more to this than, just sitting down, in our opinion, and trying to, because at that time, he was very interested in that property. And we're like, okay, we need to talk with them and, try to figure out what we're going to offer, what's going to work, what's not. And we were uncomfortable with the idea of filming a scene where we stood with the client and, quote, did a deal. So they filmed it where we decided on what he was going to offer and filmed it both ways as if he bought it or didn't buy it. But in the end, he had decided that it's down there in the hole, and there's very poor cell phone coverage down there. And, he's wanting to set up campsites and rooms and everything. And he felt like it's very important for his clients to be able to, if they need to get on the phone or whatnot, that they'd be able to do that. So he ultimately pulled out on that one and decided not to pursue that deal. So.
He could have just gone and bought himself a Starlink, He could have, brought Elon in.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of solutions to it and stuff, but that's what he told us is that, no cell phone coverage doesn't work for him. So now we're still working with him. We actually did sell him a house, and, he's, living at the lake now, and we're still, actively trying to find property that will work for him.
Now he's in the process of accumulating the right swinger group to build the membership, I suppose.
I have no knowledge of this, but I have learned that there is quite the swinger community at the Lake of the Ozarks, where they've actually rented out resorts, here. I grew up in Tantera. It's now Margaritaville, but it was then Tantera. A lot of people that worked there are like second family to me. And I started talking to some of them about this, and they're like, "Oh yeah, there's a group that they'll rent out a resort for like a weekend or a week, and they'll basically shut off one section and say, you guys do what you want over here, but you can't go anywhere else." And so there is a large community of that at the Lake of the Ozarks.
Wonder if they bring their own sheets.
Well, I'm not going to get involved in that.
The thing is that's where Ramsey and I met, was at a swingers party, actually.
Oh, really?
God, no.
Nice.
No, I laugh about that because, and I do have one final question, but I laugh about that because Facebook reaction to somebody wanting to do that at the lake, but you just said it was a nudist. And people didn't know, but they were mad because there was going to be one and bring one to the lake. Mm-hmm. And they, and it's like, that's been here. That
community has been here for a long time. Right. I mean, that community of people, whether it's nudists, swingers, whatever, they've been in the lake area for a long time. They just know how to hide it, so it's not obvious to everybody, and rightfully so. But yeah, I mean, with the Facebook posts, a lot of people, criticizing that. I had one lady, a gym I go to, very nice. We were talking about that episode, and she made a comment that she didn't think that was in good taste to do that particular episode. I was like, well, that's your personal opinion, but they're not doing anything illegal, not doing anything wrong. We're trying to find them a property out away from everywhere so that they can do it in their own privacy and not not bother anybody. So,
well, okay, so that gives me my last question I got for you. What has been your favorite Facebook social media reaction to the show? I don't think I saw any that were really like directed at you personally from what I saw, but just anything, because like Peggy got called Hitler. Like, do you have any that you remember offhand?
When the show first came out, those first few weeks, I would spend some time, going on, Facebook, reading a lot of the reactions, those keyboard warriors that had nothing but bad things to say. The only thing that really jumps out to me was, I think I remember reading something one time where someone insinuated that my brother and I were partners, like gay partners and not brothers. And I thought, well, you obviously aren't paying much attention to the show. You don't realize that we're brothers and we're not,
Right.
partners like that or anything. So, I would just would get a kick out of reading a lot of the comments, what people are saying and thinking, and you're just either jealous or, unhappy about something and not really understand exactly what the show is all about. And I get the criticism about too many of the episodes ended without the people actually buying something. I get that. And again, that goes back to where we could have done a better job of feeding them people that had actually bought in the past, and be able to give it a nice conclusion of them buying something. Certainly a lot of comments being made about, they're not, that's what it was. Very common, people of them saying they're not showing them what they want to see. They're not listening to them. They're not showing them what they want to see. Well, obviously, since they decided not to renew the show, I don't feel as scared of saying this, but a lot of what we showed them, the network picked out. We would feed them clients that we have worked with or were working with and what they were looking for, and we would feed to them properties that we felt would make sense to show to them. And a lot of those properties made it into the show, like the ones we showed to the Wagners down there off of Sellers Road. But other times, such as the island that we showed to Charles, we didn't pick that property. That was, or they just wanted that in the show. And I remember talking to the directors, like, "Hey, man, you're paying us, so we'll film this. But if we chose this to show to this guy when he's emphasized privacy is of paramount to him, and it's a 1 1/4 acre island out in the middle of the lake, probably not the smartest realtor out there." So I get that where they're saying that we're not listening to them, but again, it's for television, it's for show. They do want to create some hook, some drama, some conflict. Because remember, you watch a lot of these shows and they'll see, film partners, husband and wife, and they try to show the conflict between them by he wants this, she wants that, who's gonna get what they want kind of thing. But that, was a little, kind of like, man, I wish they really understood everything that went into filming these properties that we selected, because we are listening to our clients and trying to come up with stuff that fits what they're looking for. But a lot of times, and I'm sure you've experienced this, someone says, this is what they want. And you're listening to that and you're interpreting it, but then you're thinking, okay, you're saying this, but I really think this is what you mean. Or it might be, you're saying you want this, but I think I need to show you this because this is what I'm more picking up that I think you really want. You're just not saying it. Does that make sense?
Total sense. I get it.
Mm-hmm. And there's been a lot of times where I've had people come in and say, hey, I want a house. And after you show them a few homes, you turn around and say, you're saying you want a house, but I think you want a condo, and let's go look at this, and you end up selling them a condo. So, and that's a big part of our job as realtors, is to listen to interpret what they're telling us, give them our knowledge of the market, but also guide them to say, hey, I think this is what you really want is what we have over here.
You mentioned you want no maintenance. Condos are no maintenance. Like there's a good with the bad. Did that actually brings up another question. Did it affect your relationship with him? Showing like did he understand? Because I could see some clients. Okay, good.
Yeah.
And I know you said you're still working with him, so obviously it wasn't that big of a deal. But
yeah, no, I mean it didn't affect our relationship with him. He knew he would. I mean, he's a legit buyer. He's wanting to do this, but he was coming out, and we were coming up with properties to show him for the show that somewhat made sense. So, I mean, he made a comment about it being a joke, which it kind of was, but it had no impact on our relationship at any means. So, and I think Charles is a great guy. He's a pretty cool cat to hang out with, and man, I can't repeat some of the stuff that was said on that didn't make the show, but I can't remember the last time I had so much fun showing that, swingers colony to them. I mean, there was some stuff said. I was like, oh my God. We still bust up laughing sometimes thinking about it.
Well,
so.
actually, you can say it on this show.
Okay.
I cuss all the time. We talk about stupid shit. Yeah. Give us something.
All right. Well, so there was when we were at the former swingers colony out in Stover, you got the rec building, and underneath the rec building, you've got a number of hotel rooms. And one scene showed us filming this hotel room, and so I want you to picture this. You got Charles in there. You got me and my brother in there. You got two camera guys on either side filming us. You got the production, and the director's not there because he had family things going on, so his production assistant was, kind of fulfilling his role. You go in this hotel room. It's just a little hotel room, and around the corner you've got the bathroom with the showers and everything, and she's tucked back there with the audio guy, and Charles is doing his thing, and he goes over to the bed. He pulls up the comforter and the sheet, and he makes a comment. He's like, well, we're going to have to get some mattress protectors because, some women, they squirt, and Stacy, God love her, she comes around the corner, and you get a little short, squat girl, English, hard, strong Philadelphia accent, comes around the corner, and she's like, excuse me, did you say squirt? And he's like, yeah, some women they squirt. And my brother falls to his knees, just busting up laughing. I thought the camera guy was going to drop his camera. I'm turning around rolling. It was hilarious.
Dude, we just found the hook to this one.
The thumbnail is made for this. Like, that's what, as soon as you said that.
Even now, I feel bad even bringing up that story. It's like, oh God, here we go. So.
Oh no, man, it's fair game. If you ever see our audience, they love this stuff. So they're gonna love you. You're gonna become the icon now. You are gonna become the most popular one on the show.
Well, Jeff, you got anything left?
Yeah, one last question. This channel is kind of the Lake of the Ozarks lifestyle is dedicated to highlighting the Lake of the Ozarks, right? And just highlighting all the great things there are about it. And I love highlighting local businesses. And we've highlighted, Ramsey and I did a carpool karaoke where we drove around and kind of highlighted the different towns, the 5 big ones anyway. So if you had to choose, what is your favorite Lake of the Ozarks town? And you're in Camdenton if you're in Lynn Creek, correct? Technically?
No, I mean Lynn Creek's its own small little town.
Oh, you're in Lynn Creek. Okay, yeah, I guess you're in Lynn. Okay, yes, correct. I get that. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I live in Lynn Creek and I love it, because boys go to school in Camdenton. I work in Osage Beach, so it's a perfect little.
You're right in the middle
place
there.
to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you had to choose, we did this once. We said if every town at the Lake of the Ozarks blew up, but you get to keep one, which one are you keeping?
Keep it like the way it is now?
Just the only one that's going to stay. So you're choosing it based on the things there are to do, maybe the restaurants, maybe the quietness. I don't know. You pick. You tell us.
I think I'd want to keep Osage Beach the way it is in terms of the commercial hub for Lake of the Ozarks. I love all the different towns we have here. They all have their own little personality and, features and everything. But Osage Beach is the beating heart for Lake of the Ozarks, in my opinion, in terms of the commercial. Even though the outlet mall isn't what it used to be, you still have the mall. You've got all the shopping. You've got the largest concentration of restaurants that the lake can offer in Osage Beach. You've got the resort and Tantera Resort, now Margaritaville. You got the hospital. I'd like to see that stay the way it is. I think, and I'm not just a pro Osage Beach person. I'm pro Lake of the Ozarks. I want the entire lake to thrive. But I think it's best that all parts of the lake has their own personality and everything. But that would be the one I'd want to see. And that means continuing to grow it on a commercial level. We got the new theme park going in. Hopefully someday something will happen with the outlet mall to revive that area, to really make it, relive. I think the outlet mall overall is dead, but on a much smaller scale it can work. But I'd want to see Osage Beach stay the commercial beating heart for Lake of the Ozarks. So
you brought up a good point. One last question. You mentioned something. So you're an old schooler. You're an OG, And most of the OGs, especially on my channels, are very, because I'm always highlighting what's coming. This is new. This is happening. And everybody's always bitching in the comments about, oh, I wish it would go back to the way it was. It's too busy. There's too much going on. And I sense you like this evolution of the Lake of the Ozarks. Is that true? Or would you long for the 70s and 80s of the Lake of the Ozarks?
So you can't go backwards. You know, the 60s, the 70s, 80s, they happened. And you got to remember them. You've got to appreciate them for what they were. But you can't go backwards. You can only go forwards. I don't live in this world where, I want to stop everything and go back to the way it was, because that just can't happen. I do like growth. If you're not growing, then you're going the other direction, and that's not good for anybody. Certainly, I don't agree with everything that's happened at the Lake of the Ozarks, and no one's ever going to agree with everything. I'll just go on the record as much as I like the theme park coming into the lake, I love new industry. I got tired of seeing another grocery store opening up and them talk, about all the jobs it's going to create. And I, would always just say, no, you're creating new jobs, but the same people I saw working here, next year when they open, some of them are going to go there. You might have one or two managers or supervisors come in, and that's really it, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of the theme park, but I hate the location of it. I hate the location of that new theme park going in. That should have happened at the outlet mall, in my opinion. That's where it should have gone, But I believe in moving forward. I believe in growth, and it's best for the community to grow in a controlled, organized fashion. So yeah, I enjoy the past. I grew up here. Yeah, I'm 44 years old, lived here my entire life, been doing real estate for 25 years. I have those memories. I cherish those memories, but I also don't want to just dwell on the memories and forget that there's a life to live. And I love the lake for what it is, and want to see it continue to grow and prosper into the great community that it can be. So,
good answer.
Clearly putting Jonas up on our rational thinking board versus the irrational social media board, because that's the answer. Like what you're saying, in my opinion, that's the answer. And I've seen it. We talked with Peggy about how things have changed on HH, and Bayou Bills was where my parents would take us, and Millstone and all those things. And like growing up working for Budweiser and seeing all these different places. I remember I'd love for my daughter to be able to go to Shooters 21 on teen night like we used to go to back in the day. Mm-hmm. Like we'd drive from Lebanon and go to Shooters 21 and hang out, and you got.
We probably bumped into each other there, because I would go to Shooters for frequent it for teen night and everything. That was right. Lots of good memories.
Big Shots right next to Big Surf, like mm-hmm. those were nostalgic, cool things. But it's okay that there's other go-kart tracks that aren't Big Surf. It's cool, and I'm like you. I think that the theme park, while the location's not ideal currently, I think that backdrop of that photo on a Saturday night in July when that thing is fully developed, I think is going to be iconic. Lake of the Ozarks, new kind of moving into it. So I like that it's there, and that you're going to get that scene coming from, you go get a drink at 1932 Reserve and you're on 54 and you cross the Grand Glazed Bridge. Like that first time you see that fully lit up theme park running is going to be really cool. Mm-hmm. Is it cool at the expense of some other things? I don't know about that, but overall the growth outweighs the positives outweigh the negatives, and so
yeah, and I think I agree with what you're saying there. The overall benefit to it will outweigh the negatives of it. I get a little nervous about people driving across the bridge, looking over that theme park and getting distracted by everything going on, and I wonder how many people are going to put a bunch of paint on the guardrails of the bridge when they're driving across that thing.
Let's just hope the guardrails do their job.
Yeah,
if that happens, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure some of the paint off my truck will end up on that guardrail, as good a driver as I am. So, but no, again, the theme park, like I'm not a fan of the location, but I love the idea of that coming in here. It's new industry. It's growth for the area that if it's done right and it works out, it'll be a overall success and positive for the Lake of the Ozarks. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I enjoy a good cigar. So at some point in time, we're going to have to get together and hopefully enjoy one together.
Hey, you had me at cigar. I'm always there.
Twist your
Yeah, twist my arm, nice glass of wine or a bourbon, and it'll be a good evening.
Done.
So,
Done.
Well, Jonas, I echo Jeff's sentiments, and I look forward to meeting you in person one of these days. Real quick, when you go, I need you to do me a favor. When you leave the room, don't shut your phone off or your computer for a little bit. Give it a few minutes to kind of download. So, like 2 minutes, 3 minutes most, just so it doesn't cut off on the video.
don't turn off my computer or my phone.
Whichever you're logged into, however you're on this. If it's your phone,
I'm on my desktop here. So
okay, just don't close out like Chrome or whatever. Give it some time to fully download the videos. So that'll help us out on the back end. But Jonas, thank you very much. Look forward to it. Prepare your brother. He'll be a guest at some point. I hope, assuming he's good with it. We've only had one guy turn us down.
okay.
Mr. Reagan. That was on the final episode that Peggy, the client with the stripper pole, he has decided not to join us on the show
because he knew I was going to pick on that master bedroom, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was pretty cool. So
speaking of swingers.
Yeah, no doubt. He and Charles probably need to meet up.
I'm
swap
sure
stories or something. So that was an interesting. Home, to say the least. So,
still on the market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, maybe we should find someone to buy it.
Charles should buy it.
Built in for Charles, ready to go.
Yeah, he probably loved that house. It wouldn't change a thing. So,
well, Jonas, thank you very much, man.
You're welcome. So I can hit the leave button, but just don't shut down anything.
Yep.
Got it. Yeah, not a problem. I'll be here till 9:00 tonight. So.
Awesome. Well, have a good night. Be safe this weekend.
You as well.
You will be.
Take care, guys.
Yep. Take care, brother.
Thank you.
Man, Jonas, like he blew me away.
That was good.
Like, yeah, he was great. And I applaud you for asking some questions that I never would have thought of because, well, I wanted to get into the nitty gritty. Speaking of that, Jonas. We're at basically an hour already, so I don't even know that we can talk about other stuff. I do want to leave folks listening who've made it this far with a few things that we're going to talk about and things we're going to go forward. Something specific, maybe, just maybe, there's another new TV show coming.
Tell us more. Tell us more.
I don't know much more. I just know that there was a meeting and there was a show or a production crew that was granted access to do some things. And that production crew that I did the research on has done multiple things. And there's a theme and there's things that are going. But that's really all I know. But I know.
So, yeah, something about, what was it? Was it fire or police?
I think maybe just law enforcement. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. If at some point in time we're not found and first in line to be asked to be on a show, well, we're just gonna continue to unpack them, I guess.
Yeah, we'll do it. It's Memorial Weekend. We hinted it with Jonas. You're coming down. I know you'll be here.
Yeah, I'm hanging up from this and heading down to the lake not too long after.
Well, we've got a graduation party for my daughter tomorrow night. I'll be down Saturday morning. Got some projects to work on. I'm excited. I don't think I'm bringing my boat, though. I don't think it's ready.
Bummer. I was just going to say we'll be over at Captain Ron's at some point this weekend, which, by the way, I don't know exactly when this will be released or when you'll be watching it, but there is the deal over at Captain Ron's the weekend after Memorial, which is the treasure hunt where Ramsey was the grand prize winner.
Greer was the grand prize winner.
Okay, fair enough.
And that's next weekend. I guess I didn't know.
That's
okay. So that's something
like June,
we're going to start.
June 1st, I think. June 1st.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to start talking about things like that on this podcast, about events coming up, highlight specific events, likely maybe have some people that are involved with those events, maybe some more reaction to events that happened over the weekend. If we get real creative, maybe we'll throw some video content on top of this podcast so you can kind of see what those events were like. We've got guests lined up. I'm excited, man. I think a blessing in disguise is that there isn't going to be a season 2, but I think we've figured out that we have an audience here and that people are looking forward to kind of learning from a different perspective about things that are happening. So if you're ever at Highway Cove Marina getting fuel, wave across the cove, you'll see me. If you're over by Old Kinderhook and in that area on the Clearwater condos on the Big Niangua, give Jeff a wave. If you see, there's a mascot for Clearwater condos. It's a monkey. His name's Porter. If you see Porter out on the lake, Brian just got a new pontoon boat. Did you see that?
I haven't noticed, but I will now.
Yeah, he upgraded to, I believe, a Bennington.
Nice. Yeah, he did have a kind of a junky one before. So.
He had an older one. It's an older one.
Sorry,
it's not junky.
Sorry.
But now he's got him a Bennington and Porter. I think they've already been out a couple times. So you'll see Porter.
I've seen Porter. I have seen Porter on the deck.
And then we can talk about, too, I know you made a video highlighting it on TikTok and some of the shorts, but maybe some improvements to a couple lake bars that you specifically, you talked about the cave.
Yep.
They've got some new features. Maybe we can highlight some of that stuff. And maybe, just maybe, we'll figure out a way to do a live podcast on the water.
Yeah.
From a cove.
Great idea.
With a drone.
100%. It'll happen.
And I bet I know which house it'll be in front of.
Ooh. Yeah. Speaking of, that will be one of the that'll be an upcoming episode. That's right. That's going to happen too. We're going to interview one of the sellers whose house is still yeah, there we go.
Reeling in, just bringing all this content your way.
Let's go.
And I'm excited. So, folks, if you're watching, if you're listening, I hope you have a great Memorial weekend. We'll be back probably the following week to recap. We'll even have some the offshore shootout is next weekend too. So we'll have a chance to kind of chat about that and maybe get your opinion on if the new location, Shady Gators, H-Toads, is better than the previous location, the Dam and Neon Taco and all of that. Prepping for all things summer. I'm looking forward to a cooler, a floaty, and some fun. So I got to buy a new lily pad, though. Apparently mine blew off the dock over the winter. So
that sucks.
Yeah, I'm not. My wife doesn't know that yet. Yeah, she's not going to be real thrilled, but she'll get over it. Actually, you know what's a really good lily pad that I never thought? A paddleboard.
I have one.
Just the paddleboard instead of the lily pad. Like throw the paddleboard out, your drinks sit on it, it sits up higher. You don't have to worry about crawling on and off. Like they work perfect.
Depends depends how many people you got, but yeah.
Right, but you could get 4 or 5 adults hanging out around it. You're staying in the water. You don't have to. It doesn't you get a big wide one. So maybe that's how I'll sell it to my family. We got a paddleboard.
It's good exercise. I love doing it, man.
I've tried it. We'll get there.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
It's fun.
I'm slimming up a little bit. I don't know what the official weight loss
you're looking good, buddy.
is, but it's getting there. So, guys, thanks for checking it out. Thanks for listening to us ramble. We need you to like, follow, subscribe, share. Share would be big for kind of what we're trying to do. And we'll bring you more fun content and more podcast style Lake of the Ozarks stuff. So I'm Ramsey.
I can't wait to see this thumbnail.
It's gonna be good. I can't wait till we text what should be on the thumbnail and the response of that. And I actually hope that they'll just let me live watch them make it on the back end I did the one time. So
it's gonna be so good.
We're gonna have some fun. So guys, thank you. I'm Ramsey, real estater, Jeff Pfitzer, Pfitzer Media, a lot of things. Peace.
Lake of the Ozarks lifestyle. Yep. See you guys.
Lake of the Ozarks lifestyle. See ya.
Bye.